A quick reaction force. Sounds like a good idea, right? Have a force of Marines, soldiers, most of the time it's Marines though, ready to go in to maybe evacuate an embassy, give some fire support to a Marine security guard that's being overrun, or give additional support to some units that we may have on the ground in Europe or in Asia or anywhere in the world. Always ready to go, always ready to fight, highly trained. They can get somewhere normally within a couple hours, sometimes as quick as 1 hour. And their job is to defend America's interests. I like the idea. I actually think it's a great idea. At any given moment, we're ready to rock and roll and we can do those things. Imagine a quick reaction force for every single state in the United States, in our territories. Puerto Rico, Northern Mariana Islands, Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, up to 32,000 troops ready for a quick reaction force for crowd control, they say. It's something that may be needed, maybe not be needed. Let me talk to you about why this is an event where you need to just be mindful for. Just think about, just in case you find yourself in those type of scenarios, you always want to be prepared to know your rights and know things that could happen. So one thing I want to talk about, let's rewind back to August 2025, such a long time ago. Pentagon planning a quick reaction force, and this force specifically was designed to be there. And this was kind of talked about a bit, but not very much. It was going to be up to 600 people. The Trump administration is looking for plans to set up to 600 National Guard for quick reaction force to quickly deploy to U.S. cities to quell protest or other civil unrest. They were going to call this the domestic civil disturbance, QRF, for quick reaction force. We're going to go with QRF for the rest of the video. And this, from both sides of the aisle, had a little bit of an uproar. Like, you want a QRF, and the goal of this, it was going to be 300 National Guard troops that were set to fly anywhere east of the Mississippi, 300 to fly anywhere west of the Mississippi, kind of just put down anything that may be going down, and we just be ready to rock and roll. So it kind of went away. So much happens here in America, so much happens in the state that we kind of just forgot about it. It kind of just really, people weren't talking about it much. What made me want to talk about it again is a couple of things. First of all, Trump officials, top Trump officials, are moving on to military bases. Folks like Stephen Miller, who is unelected but appointed, high advisor to the president, Marco Rubio, who's unelected but appointed. He has 3 roles right now in the government, the biggest one being Secretary of State. Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary, and others are all taking over homes that were recently housed senior military officers. So these homes, normally high-ranking colonels, generals, captains, lieutenant colonels, etc., normally live on these bases. And in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder, they're now moving on to some of these bases in the Arlington, Virginia area, etc. And the thing is that a military base is just that much harder to get on. So protect those officials, etc., etc. I found that to be a little bit odd. And so they really want to just be able to stay away from organized campaigns of like violence. President Trump over the last few months has been teasing using the Insurrection Act, and he can do whatever he wants basically behind it. He said it as recently as 2 days ago. I have it here. You can barely hear him on this clip, so I'm going to play it, but I'm not going to actually unmute it because it's actually extremely hard to hear what he's saying. But the point is that these people are moving on bases. He's talking about the Insurrection Act and his ability to do it. And he's constantly teasing the use of this. I mean, just as recently in October, he talked about it in the summertime as well. And he says that he can, invoke the Insurrection Act and say that the storm is upon us, and at any given moment be ready to rock and roll and to use this thing. And so I just find it odd that we're starting to put different troops into different places. We're starting to put different things into action. But it didn't really raise an alarm for me until I saw this story. States to have a rapid response National Guard units for civil disturbances by January 1st, says a top official. Now, mind you, This sounds insanely familiar and similar to that executive order that was signed by the president in August. That was only 600. Now, same exact concept, but it's now going to be up to 32,000 troops. National Guard is planning to train as many as 500 troops per state in our territories to serve as a rapid response force for focused on civil disturbances missions, according to two U.S. officials. The crazy thing is that for the longest time, especially folks who watch this channel, thought this was really going to be reserved for liberal cities, the Chicagos of the world, different parts of California, Portland, San Francisco, etc., New York. Now they're talking about every state in the union. Each state will be required to have a quick reaction force ready at the start of the new year. 500 personnel assigned to this force. So I guess they're going to retrain National Guard troops. And this was first reported as a teaser in August. And now it seems to be a full-fledged thing that has to be done per an order from the government. What could this mean? A lot of things are moving around right now. A lot of things are happening right now, and it could be a couple of things. One, they're preparing for possible civil unrest around our elections next year in 2026. Let's just say that there's some type of civil unrest. They can deploy these troops and they could, be able to control polling places, et cetera, et cetera. It also could be a deterrent to keep people from going to vote. So that's something you have to think about as well. Two, this is a rumor some people are saying, is that they're preparing to install a theocracy in charge of the United States. Now, that seems like a conspiracy theory that is far-fetched. It's hard to believe, but one thing that drew my attention was this. ICE officials replace Border Patrol, cementing hard tactics that originated in California. So right now, ICE officials, right, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, top officials are being traded out or replaced with Customs and Border Protection agents. Those two folks have distinctly different missions. And you may think to yourself, where they're all, if you're a regular civilian, you think, well, they're all quasi-military. They look like military. They wear sappy plates or they wear armor and they wear, the hardened pants and long sleeves and masks, but they serve different purposes. ICE agents, they are there normally to deport someone that already has a set of deportation orders. So they seek them out, they find them, they deport them, or someone who's eligible for deportation. Custom or CPB is completely different because their job is one of the first forces that protect our borders. They also have way more assets than ICE. They have Black Hawk helicopters. They have different munitions. They have more agents. They have more training. And quite frankly, they're much more aggressive. So we're seeing that in the cities, they're putting different types of agents. And the thing is I really, really believe in the concept of each agency, keeping them in the places that they belong to. If you're a part of DEA, go do some drug enforcement shit, okay? If you're part of ATF, go look for some bump plates. I don't know. But if you start to replace people out who have different skills and different tactics, that does make me draw pause. So what does that mean? That means that you definitely need to know what your rights are, okay? As we enter the new year right now, so much stuff is kind of like burying these stories. The government's currently shut down and SNAP benefits are possibly going to expire in 2 days, and people are worried about looting when it comes to around that. And we just have so many different things going on all at once. People being indicted for different crimes, and people are worried about the Epstein files. And when it comes to your SHTF or shit hitting the fan, know your rights, know what the difference is for your state. For instance, here in Texas, if I'm stopped by law enforcement, I'm allowed to ask, is this voluntary? Am I detained? Am I suspected to be a witness to a crime? Or am I suspected to be a suspect to a crime? And depending on how the officer answers is how I have to identify myself, the type of identification I have to give him, if I'm allowed to leave the scene. I know my rights when it comes to that stuff. Know your rights in your states. That's number one. The biggest thing is also know what your plan is if you need to protect yourself. Okay, I'm not talking about the rise of a government that's coming against you, but I am just talking about if it is a reason that there's civil unrest around you. Think of this one of two ways. You agree with this move and you want to be able to protect yourself because maybe 500 is not enough, or you disagree with this move and you want to protect yourself from, agents being quartered in your house, right? That's not supposed to happen and stuff like that. So be just cautious, keep yourself up to date with this information, because I do think that this reminds me of just putting assets in place to keep citizens in line, keep citizens in check. And do I have a direct opinion about this? Not necessarily. I guess for me personally, troops being available for QRF in different cities might not be the worst idea in the world. But I will say this, that protests happen all the time. Every single state has state troopers. They have police forces. And I don't know if I've seen evidence that where they can't control that stuff. I mean, if you were to ask the governor here, Greg Abbott, do you think that Texas state troopers and your own National Guard and your local police can handle anything that were to rise up? And his answer would probably be yes. But maybe every state is not equipped and they need this. Could 500 turn to 5,000? Could 5,000 turn into, I don't know, maybe like having maybe 50,000 troops trained and always ready to go in each individual state? I do find it interesting. The thing that kind of raises my ears or tickles my ears the most is those high level officials moving onto bases. It does make me draw a pause. And I see, folks like InfoWars talking about a possibility of a civil war and stuff like that. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but it does make me draw a pause that high level officials, most of which are not elected, are moving on to military bases designed for high level senior officials that are in the military. What does this mean? I don't know. I was going to sit down here and smoke my hookah. Then I stopped for this story. But hey, listen. I'm going to keep up with this stuff. When it comes to your rights, the last thing I would say is if you believe in the Second Amendment, participate, okay? Maybe you keep yourself a healthy amount of ammo. Maybe keep yourself a decent home defense gun. Maybe look at a 300 Blackout with a can on it. Maybe get a longer targeting weapon like an AR-10 or AR-15. Get yourself a shotgun. Learn how to use them. And so that if there is civil unrest and that there are folks trying to get your stuff, those troops may not be enough to, I guess, protect you. I don't know. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, comment down below. Let me know what you think all this stuff could mean. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.